Coming up, what an excellent day for the Lord's Prayer. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 106 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate The Exorcist, minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with Father Marin turning and putting down the holy water, having just sprinkled it on both the demon and Charis.
And it ends with him saying, "Be unto her, O Lord, a fortified tower."
Yes, folks, the exorcism has officially begun. Let's get back to the top of this minute and go through this scene. Okay, Keenan, right at the top, I think this is the thing that has been burned into my brain since I heard it the first time. This moaning. This is the scariest thing in the movie for me. This voice and this performance that Mercedes McCambridge is giving us. And firstly, okay, I want to mention here that I have heard people say that they can't tell this is a woman.
Yeah, like in the book, right? Blatty specifically says it sounds like a male voice, and Chris is downstairs and being like, "Oh, I hear a man in my daughter's room." And
exactly.
It's not, right?
Yeah, right. And he even goes as far as to say, like, it is very deep with a deep bass, right?
Right.
But yeah, and this one here is not that at all. It's completely the opposite of how Blatty was describing it. But like, I always knew this was a woman, and like maybe I didn't know if it was Linda Blair or not, but I knew it was a woman's voice. And folks, I'm not bragging. I'm not like, oh, I know the magic trick, right? What I'm saying is, like, that actually made it even worse for me because it's so not what I was expecting. And I'm talking on all fronts. It is the one voice I did not expect to come out of a little girl. And it is the one voice I did not expect to come out of the devil. Of all the infinite voices, freaking found the one that no one would expect. It is the opposite of everything. This raspy, older woman's voice is the opposite of a little girl, and it's the opposite of a booming devil.
Right.
And at that age, 15-year-old Lester watching The Exorcist, the only other voice that sounded like that was my childhood fear, the hag from Snow White. That was my first witch, and I saw her for the first time really, really little. Maybe I was like 5, at a drive-in movie theater. And so she was 50 feet tall, and her voice was booming. And I went back and I listened to her scenes, right? I found some on YouTube. And for me, this voice in The Exorcist is the same texture, the same timbre, this rasp that the evil queen has when she's doing the part of the hag. Because, folks, Lucille Laverne, like, that's the actress's name, does both parts. She is the evil queen and the hag. And I did some research, partly for this show and partly for our new show, Keenan, Every Disney Villain.
Absolutely.
On this actress, on Lucille Laverne. And I found out that at first, Walt wasn't really sold on Lucille's hag voice. He liked the queen voice, but not the hag. And so Lucille asks for a moment. She goes out of the studio, comes back in, does another performance of the hag, and gives everybody chills. And they asked what she had done differently, and apparently she had taken her teeth out. And there, again, it reminded me of Mercedes McCambridge's method of getting into character, right? The physical restrictions she put on her body.
Right.
And I didn't know any of this the first time I watched The Exorcist. I didn't know Lucille Laverne's name, but I knew her voice, right? It was in my dreams. And watching The Exorcist for the first time, right, 15-year-old Lester, it was like I had jumped into a time machine and I was transported back to watching her transform from young to old on a 50-foot tall screen and hearing her voice become raspy and broken and, yes, sensual at times when she's like relishing in her own transformation. There's this rasp, this laugh, like she's in pain but also enjoying it. Or when she's reading about the poisoned apple and there's this hunger as she imagines what it's going to do to Snow White.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying this movie, The Exorcist, for, 15-year-old Lester, who thought he had outgrown his fear of the witch from Snow White, thought he was safe, thought he was a big boy now. This movie gently nudged me and said, hey, you're still scared of that witch. And here she is again. She followed you. She found you again.
And she's behind you.
She's behind you. All right. watch out for the queen, right?
And watch out for the hag.
And the hag. They're the same person, right? Except Keenan, now, watching The Exorcist, 15-year-old Lester is older, right? He's gone through some changes, right? He's still going through changes, right? Having thoughts, having feelings about girls. He kind of understands what it's all about, but not quite, right? But he's not thinking about that right now. He's watching The Exorcist. He wants to get spooked. But then here comes the witch from Snow White, his old childhood fear. But now she's like making noises and like making sounds that he doesn't want to hear her making. And I knew going into this, right? This was supposed to be the scariest movie of all time, but I didn't expect for like my head to be messed with in this way. Yeah. And so, yeah, folks, for me, this voice, this performance is I guess you would like call it a trigger. It really gets me. Like, Keenan, what do you think of this like little bit of Mercedes McCambridge's performance right here at the top of our minute, this moaning that she's doing?
So I just want to be clear. Do you mean, you say sensual, but do you also mean sexual? I mean,
I guess, yeah, I have to call it that, right?
Yeah. I think that is, it's very honest of you to say that, but I think you're right. Like I think that's part of what's going on in The Exorcist that a lot of people leave out of their analysis of the movie and what they say the movie is. Like, it's bothersome on all of these different levels.
Right.
And yeah, it's because it's both sensual and sexual and animalistic, right? And like, animals don't make love; they mate, right? But Reagan is doing all of that at once, right? She's lowing like a steer, they say in the book, right?
Yeah.
And
and like, it would be like if she was more animalistic, like if she was like growling and snarling, like that would bother me less, you know? Yeah.
And she's gonna in this scene like flick her tongue out a lot,
right?
And it's like that deleted scene we saw after the spider walk,
right?
Where she goes down and she's trying to lick Sharon's ankles, and just Sharon, not her mother, and we're like trying to make sense of those things. Like, what is that about, right? And it is, I mean, it is sexual, and that's what's so disturbing, that it's all of those things at once,
right? And again, like, as opposed to her like doing the spider walk down the stairs and trying to bite Sharon's ankles, right?
That
like,
we could deal with. Okay. Oh, you're just trying to bite the nanny.
It's like, oh, you're just
right. Thank God.
You're just a little beast. Okay, that's what. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is something else. But yeah, I totally understand your reticence of not trying to admit that that there's something weird and sexual and scary in that sexuality.
Yeah.
That's similar to the Snow White performance, right? So that queen.
Yeah.
And we want to go and talk about this on our new show once we start publishing those episodes. But the evil queen is this weird psychosexual story. Like, she's probably attracted to Snow White, and she hates her beauty, and then she's willing to. That's what's so. This isn't just the Disney version, but what's so interesting about that story at all is that the evil queen is so vain, she's willing to destroy her own looks in order to go and kill Snow White, right?
Yeah.
And turn into it. And then so maybe she's not thinking about that. She's so thinking about she's crazed. And then she drinks this potion, and she sees what it is to have her looks go, and it scares her, and it frightens her, like maybe messed up.
She doesn't know that she wasn't thinking that like drinking this might hurt, like this transformation.
Yeah, like it like burns her. She's like starts grabbing her own throat. She's like, oh, right. And then it seems to like hurt for her hair to change colors, right? But then, as you point out very, very, very smartly, right? Then she's like, oh wait, oh yeah, she's getting more powerful, and there is something sexual to that, to like letting it all hang out and like being yourself, right? And she starts to really feel the power, right? She's more powerful as the evil witch, right?
Yeah.
It's sex and power and just womanhood all mixed in one, right?
And it's such a
confusing, and it's confusing and scary.
And like it's such a juxtaposition, right? Because like I think you had said like before, talking about the role of the queen. You said they modeled her after somebody, like
they so when they're designing the queen, they spend a lot of time figuring out the queen part of it. I think they understood the witch part. Right. So because they knew what their references were going to be for that. Right. The evil queen part, they model after this live action actor named Gail Sondergaard, who had won an Oscar and the year before as they were making Snow White. And she usually plays like imperious, like tough bad guys, like bad women. Like kind of, almost like a dominatrix, like this powerful, strong woman, right? Like looks down at men, and can like seduce them with the drop of a hat, but not like them at all.
Right. Very, very like imperious. Very
imperious. Yeah. Looking down at you, and so that's who they modeled the evil queen after. So there is something sexual to it for sure. Yeah. Do you know R. Crumb? He like did the Fritz the Cat and like Keep on Truckin' was his. Like in this documentary called Crumb. he says this really revealing thing where he says, like, so when I was a kid, I cut this Bugs Bunny out of a magazine and I would keep it in my pocket. And then when I was alone and no one was around, I would take it out and just touch the paper. And that was like my first sexual experience, was being sexually attracted to this cutout of Bugs Bunny. And he says this on camera. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe, but that's not uncommon, for people to like find their sexuality in all sorts of weird different places, right? So yeah, it can come from anywhere, and the difference is that he went into comics and like transferred that into making things, and and then the rest of us just repress our sexual psycho problems, and then we get scared at The Exorcist. We're not as healthy. Yeah.
That's why The Exorcist scares you, folks.
Yeah.
We are the authority. We are the experts. We are saying that right now.
Because you haven't taken care of your problems.
Yeah. Yes.
Your issues. Yeah, but there's definitely something there about this like terrifying mixture of ideas, right?
Right.
Because that's the thing that, like, so I'm joking about like us not wanting to work on our issues, but there is something in the human psychology and the human physiology that we don't like to even put our minds around, which is like, we want everything to be binary.
Yeah.
Right. Either things are scary or they are fun. And it's hard for us to admit, like, horror is both. Right. Either we are screaming or we are laughing, but those are so close to ourselves and our physiology. Yeah. We want things to be pleasurable or painful, right? But those are so close. It's I don't know if spectrum is the right word, because I don't think that there's a middle ground where it's less painful and less pleasurable, right? And they meet in the middle. Like sometimes those things seem to loop around, right?
Fear and laughter kind of like they surprise us in the same way, right? Like, and I think we were talking about like it was like there was when we were like writing a sketch, we were talking about like an unspoken rule of comedy is like if something happens far away, like in the background, it's way funnier than like if it happens like right in front of the camera.
Yeah, that's something you and Ian were working on.
Right. Yeah. It's like way in the background. You just see a guy like, and he's walking, and he's holding an ice cream cone, and it drops on his shoe, and he just looks down. That's hilarious if you can't see him properly. Like if he's so far away that all his features are blurred, right? But if it happens like like right in front of the camera, it's like it could be funny, but it's like
it could also be sad.
Yeah, right. But then same thing, because we discovered it's the same thing with horror. Like if you're like wandering through a hallway and like right next to you, like out of a door right next to you, comes a zombie. You're like, it's that terror, right? Yeah. It's that fight or flight. But if you're walking down this hallway and then way down at the other end, there's like a perpendicular hallway, and just like you see something walk by. That's, to me, that's the horror versus the terror, right?
The terror part
if
of
something
it,
is is far away or out of sight. So yeah, like my point being that like I think like fear and laughter, and, like being amused by something, being afraid of something, like it's like they are very, very close. There's a very thin line.
Yeah, and again, pain and pleasure, which we don't want to, so that makes me think of two things. So Mel Brooks says that comedy, and he defines comedy and drama, right? He says that tragedy is when I get a hangnail, and comedy is when you fall down a manhole and die. Right? When it happens to me, tiny little things are big, right? And there's nothing funny about that at all, right? When it happens to somebody else and they're distant and like we don't see them as human necessarily, right? That's funny, right? When we sort of distance ourselves or make them feel more like cartoon characters or Punch and Judy characters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If Punch and Judy aren't puppets, not funny. And then
that's a hard watch to like even when they are puppets, it's like
right. Yeah, today I guess I don't do a lot of Punch and Judy anymore.
No.
But the other thing is, John Waters says like everybody's sex life is funny, but your own. Right, like your own sex life, whatever it is, your own predilections, your fetishes, your likes, your dislikes, your kinks, like those are very serious, right? But like to see somebody else's is like that's ridiculous, right? Whatever X, Y, or Z, whatever you like, gross, scary, creepy, funny, etc. Right? But for yourself, it's like, oh no, that's just the perfect amount of everything.
It's almost like it becomes like for other people, like you see in comedies all the time, right? People getting caught in the act, and one of them is wearing like a ridiculous costume, right?
Right.
Like something like they're dressed as a nurse or the guy's dressed as a like a clown or something like that, right? And then it's like that's their that's the joke. It's like, oh, everybody's got their
just like a little baby. I'm just a little baby.
I'm just a little baby. My name is John Milton, and I wrote the greatest poem ever in English literature. I think this is true for both the things you are like deeply afraid of and the things you are like attracted to.
Yep.
Those are like sacred. Like they are in like a cathedral in your brain, and they like nobody is allowed in, right? And when the evil queen as the hag like walks out of my fear cathedral and starts like tap dancing in my other cathedral, I'm like, what are you doing? I don't like this.
No. Yeah. But she loves it.
She is having so much fucking fun.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing is, the evil queen, as the Gail Sondergaard, is like above everything. She doesn't express any emotions, right?
Yeah.
And then, the wicked witch or the evil hag is like having a goddamn blast. Right? She's like, you're terrified.
You get this idea, like, because you were talking about before, you were comparing them, like, you were saying that the evil queen almost has this like domineering dominatrix kind of a presentation to her,
right? And
I almost looked at it like when I was like, oh, like it's almost like you can see it as like even sexless.
Yep.
And then when you switch over to the hag, it's like she has had a life.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, she's been around. She can give you like she can sit Snow White down and be like, all right, let me tell you about men.
Yeah, she's poisoned a couple apples in her day.
Oh yeah, if you know what I'm saying. All right. This is the ickiest trap we've ever been in. Let's get the hell out of here.
Oh, I need to tell you my evil queen story.
Oh, okay.
All right. So when my girlfriend at the time, our first time that we went to Disneyland together, which is a really big deal for us, like, oh, we're going to go to Disneyland. Yeah. And I said, hey, can we go on the Snow White ride? And she's like, sure. And I'm like, well, I need to tell you the reason why, because it's like a little kid's ride, right? And not everybody likes to go on the dark rides, right? Because they're slow and they're for kids. And but I was like, so when I was a kid, I went on the Snow White ride, and it scared the shit out of me. And I understand that it's not scary intellectually, but I need to go and experience it. It's not scary, like emotionally. Can we go there? She's like, sure, of course we do that. So we wait there forever, and then we're going through like, oh, okay, this is like exercising a lot of my demons. And then we get to the evil queen. And she's terrifying. And like the voice is all around you, right, in this tiny little tunnel. And then the way they do the transformation scene is that you are talking about like long tunnels. You're going down this long tunnel at the far end. You see her, with the raven and with her spell book and everything. Yeah. And you see her in the mirror, and she's the beautiful evil queen. Right. And then you get close enough, and she turns around. You see like the back of her, and it turns around. It's the hag, and she's looking right at you. Of course, you go, no. And so it happens right in front of you. So it's like, oh my god. So all it is like it's a mannequin that at the back is like dressed and drawn like the evil queen, and then it turns around the same. But like, you swear it looks like, okay, it turned in front of you. And then I want to give you some spoilers if you're terrified of this ride. Like, so if you sit on the left side of the ride, the evil queen, the hag rather, at some point is going to jump out of the darkness with no warning. Oh, and so it happens to us. And, it comes out of it and just goes, ah! And I go, oh, and then I'm like, oh, god damn it. So it's still scary. Okay. Yeah. So it did not work on me to go and exercise my fears from my childhood. Yeah.
So after all these years, she still has both of us.
Yeah. She's like, I still got it.
Oh, geez. I'm really, really excited to do that first episode with you, Keenan.
That's yeah. That will be the first one. So look out for that once we get around to every Disney villain.
Yes. All right. Okay. So but back to The Exorcist, because that's what we're doing now. This is The Exorcist Minute.
I guess so.
Yeah. Let's just put all our Freudian baggage over here, and it'll be there when we're done. You can pick it back up.
I'll be watching it for you.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, boy. Okay. So as this moaning is still going on, we cut to the foot of the bed, and Dimmy is kneeling with his book open, and his eyes are fixed on Marin. And his face has continued to stretch into this expression of fear from the previous minute, right? It feels unconscious. I don't think he's aware of it, but he is not looking at Reagan now. He is looking at Marin. Why do you think that is? Like, what do you think is going on in his head right now?
I've said this before on the show, but this does remind me of like because I'm a bad flyer, and so when I'm on a plane and there's turbulence, I'll go and look at the flight attendants, and if they're not freaking out, then I know you shouldn't be freaking out right now.
Okay,
but it doesn't always work because sometimes they freak out when they think that no one's looking at them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like here's my model. Like he's my rock, right? If he's not afraid, I'm not afraid.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not going to work either. He's going to be afraid sometimes.
Yeah, it's always going to. Can't escape it. Yeah, I really, really like that. To me, it also feels like he is seeing Marin for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's weird because like he has been doing that. Each time Marin says something to him, we cut to Dimmy and he has this look on his face like we said a couple of minutes ago, like he looks ashamed, right? He looks awestruck. Or even like the first time he meets him, when he arrives, Dimmy steps out into the hall and he says, "Father," in this way where it feels like Marin is his father. It's like he followed his dad to work.
Right.
And he's seeing what his dad does every day. And I'm being, silly here, but Karras is a priest and he has been a priest. But today he followed a priest into an exorcism and he is looking at Marin like, this is what he does. This is what a priest does.
Right.
Yeah. So he kneels and we cut to a close-up of the Roman ritual. Dimmy has opened it to near the end of the book, but it says chapter 2, the rite for exorcism.
Yeah, is that a props mistake or what? Is the first chapter super long?
I think. Oh no, this might not be the. It might be broken up into books.
Oh.
Like, I mean, either like literally, like this might be volume 2.
Oh, duh! No, you're right.
Which covers not only exorcism, but like I think it was like the rites of burial, right?
Right.
So that might be like
of course, no, of course you're right. So I mean, like the Bible is a book, but it's dozens of books.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that could be it, right? Now over this opening of the exorcism book, we hear Marin begin the Lord's Prayer, and this prayer is spoken throughout this minute as the action plays out. So the first bit, we hear, "Our Father who art in heaven." And from here, we cut and we are now over his shoulder, over Marin's shoulder, as Regan rears up and spits into his face. It's a very quick cut. I can't tell if it's Eileen Dietz or Linda Blair. I think I saw some behind-the-scenes footage of Dietz doing this exact spit take, but again, we also saw footage of her smacking Ellen Burstyn across the room, and it ended up being Linda Blair in the final cut. So I don't know.
Yeah, I going frame by frame, I don't think it is Linda Blair, so I do believe it's Eileen Dietz. And you say rears up. I don't know a better way to describe it because she's contorting herself because she is somehow able to, with her hands tied, right, lift her torso off of the bed when her hands are like held backwards behind her enough to
actually. Yeah, now that I think about it, that is an impossible feat. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. So it's a like contortionist job. It's nuts. Yeah.
Like we said, folks, this is a super quick cut, maybe half a second,
right?
And then we get another quick shot, a close up of Marin's face as the phlegm lands on him, and he barely flinches. Basically, just like the impact makes him close his eyes a little bit, and that's it.
If you go frame by frame, his eyes are already closed, which is probably smart on Max von Sydow's part. But I think it also might be, he might be doing that in character where he doesn't need to read the book at all. He just
right. And I mean, like whether it's it's Billy Friedkin pointing a squirt gun at you with pea soup, or it's a possessed girl who looks like she's about to spit at you, like you're probably gonna like preemptively close your eyes a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Which are you more afraid of? I'm afraid of Billy Friedkin.
Yeah. I think Captain Howdy is afraid of Billy Friedkin. But yeah, so like we said, like Marin doesn't flinch at all. And I feel like this is also calling back to when Regan's vomit landed on Dimmy. Like how he not only flinched, but he reeled back. He exclaimed, right? It was shock. It was revulsion. It was anger. And again, with Marin, it's like she spit on a statue.
Right.
So from here, we cut to Dimmy, and even though he's not the one who got spat on this time, he still has a bigger reaction than Marin.
I guess he knows what that feels like, I suppose.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I've been there.
Yeah. So he grabs the bedpost and he moves toward Marin like he's going to get up and help him. But before he does, we cut back, and Marin's got it under control. He takes his glasses off as he says, "Hallowed be thy name." So that's where we are in the prayer. That's like how fast all this stuff happened. He says, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done." I don't know how many takes it took for Friedkin to capture the way that gobbet of spit drips down off his face, right? Even knowing it's pea soup, it's very gross.
Yeah, because it's pea soup with chunks of oatmeal in it.
Yeah.
Things. Yeah. And it's probably freaking freezing.
Yeah, right.
Because the whole room is freezing.
Yeah. It's not the temperature pea soup should be. No.
It's not the oatmeal you should put in there.
No.
It's not the squirt gun you should be you should be squirted with. It's all wrong.
It's not the loogie we needed.
But maybe the loogie we deserved.
Yeah. Okay, we cut back, and Dimmy is settling back into his position at the foot of the bed, as Merrin says, on earth as it is in heaven. We cut back again as Merrin says, give us this day our daily bread, and Merrin is now using a handkerchief to wipe the rest of that spit from his face. These cuts are so quick and so much happens, but the one constant throughout all of these cuts is the Lord's Prayer. Merrin continues praying even as all this other stuff is going on. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't react. He doesn't even stop. And maybe that's what Howdy is trying to do, trying to break his concentration, trying to make it so that he has to stop. If Howdy can get Merrin to stop in the middle of the Lord's Prayer, I think he would consider that a win. Right?
Because that's a prayer that like I'm sure other denominations as well, but especially if you're a Catholic, you just know, even if you're a layperson.
Yeah.
Right. To stop in the middle is, I don't know, darn near impossible.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So if he can get Merrin to do that, then he's making a little chink in the armor. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm only realizing this now because you keep calling it spit. And I'm like, well, it's not spit. It's vomit. Right. But no. But so that's what I think. So we clearly see previously it's like vomit, right? That
it's vomit. Yeah.
Vomits on Damien.
Right.
And this is clearly spit because she goes, right, she loogies at him, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same stuff coming out of her, either from her stomach or her lungs, right? Because those are two completely different parts if you're not possessed by a demon. Those are two different parts of your anatomy. Right?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So it's all coming out the same. It's all that disgusting vileness.
So inside her is just like, ew, like weird, gross.
Yeah, the stomach stuff is in the lung stuff. The lung stuff is in the stomach stuff. The witch is in her sex cathedral. It's it's all wrong.
Yeah, no.
And the witch is in there and she's cleaning up. And you're like, that's even more confusing.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just going to organize your magazine.
Why are you being nice? I'm gonna cook you up and eat you. Like, well, maybe I like that. I don't know. And that's when she's like, I'm going to go back to the Fear Cathedral.
Right.
That's how you get rid of your childhood fears, folks. By coming on to that.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, so like, okay, so we were talking about like Howdy trying to get Merrin to stop in the middle of the Lord's Prayer, right? But Merrin does not stop. He knows all of this stuff is fireworks. This is all razzle dazzle. This is the game that Howdy is playing, right? Can I get you to undo the straps for me? Can I mention your mother and get a reaction out of you? Can I interrupt your reciting of the Lord's Prayer, right? But like we said in previous minutes, folks, Merrin is not playing any of Howdy's games, right? He is here to exterminate Howdy. And so the Lord's Prayer continues uninterrupted. Now we cut from this close-up. Merrin is still praying as he wipes off the spit. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I like how this part is said right after she has spit on him, right? And now we get more pirate.
That is my favorite part of the Lord's Prayer. Again, as a non someone without faith, right? That still is the part that I go, yes, that's tough. That's Jesus for you, right? That's so hard. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, I think that's the part that everybody has trouble with, right? And we were even talking about, right? Merrin in the beginning of the movie exhibiting that perfect, almost impossible forgiveness and compassion and love, right? Like even to people, the old Merrin wouldn't necessarily even want to be around.
Be around someone, yeah.
Yeah.
And now forgive them, yeah. Well, yeah, that's my free bird. That's the one that that gets to me as I hear the prayer. Like, that's the one.
Got your lighter in the air. Yeah. And of course, right, like during this beautiful part of the prayer, we got more pyrotechnics as Howdy begins to rapidly flick Reagan's tongue in and out of her mouth, very much like a serpent, as he lists her head from side to side and the vapor is coming out of her mouth, and it transforms her from like serpent to dragon. And now his moan seems almost like a chant, almost as if he is mocking Merrin's prayer. Or, Keenan, I'm actually wondering, is this thing Howdy is doing right now, the tongue thing and is this the prayer actually affecting him? Like, is he going into convulsions? Is he like glitching essentially? And Reagan's body is just like going crazy because, Howdy is maybe losing his hold. Because like we see in the very next shot, like Marin is saying, and lead us not into temptation. It almost looks as if Howdy is in the throes of something. It reminds me of when Karis sprinkled the fake holy water, how he reacted in a similar way and started doing like the backwards speaking. We had Father David Mowry on for that episode, and he mentioned that it could be that even though the holy water was not holy, God could have been like interceding on Dimmy's behalf and forcing Howdy into this state. Do you think that could be what's happening here, right? Starting with the tongue and then going into like the next shot.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That does make sense. I think that's a really apt way to look at this. For me, I don't know. For me, it feels like that wouldn't be enough, like the Lord's Prayer. I don't know, maybe that's my own personal biases of, again, like I was just talking about how beautiful the Lord's Prayer is.
Right.
But I also, my dominant memory of the Lord's Prayer is everyone saying in church and like having to stand up and like not finding beauty in it, just doing it rote, and not even hearing these words that we're saying. So I don't know if on its own, the Lord's Prayer, like the most common prayer in Catholicism, I would imagine, like whether that would start to affect Captain Howdy at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like
maybe that's my own personal baggage in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I think like within like Catholic belief, it's like it's the most common because it's supposed to be like the greatest, right?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder if actually, I wonder if a couple of things are happening here. I wonder if on some level the prayer is affecting Howdy, and you see it and you hear it in the moans and kind of like the the listing from side to side, the shallow breaths and the like the eyes rolling up to the whites. And Howdy is, but maybe it's like just starting to get to him, and he's the tongue thing is Howdy, and he's like he's trying to like make a joke out of it. He's trying to like he's on the roller coaster and he's putting his hands up.
Right.
He's like, oh, okay, we're doing the Exorcist, and he's like, isn't this fun? Isn't this great? But like maybe deep down, like it's actually kind of like he's feeling the the ups and downs of the roller coaster now.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, folks, we get another shot, another one of these painting shots. Like maybe not one you want to hang up anywhere in your house.
One you'd be disturbed if your daughter drew at school and brought home to you.
It's like we gotta have some conversations. But no, it's so this next shot, this is Reagan/Howdy in all his spooky glory, awash in this blue-white light, the cuts on her face standing out red and stark, and her eyes are rolled up to the whites. He is gasping for breath. The expression is ambiguous, right? He looks like he is in the throes of something.
Ecstasy, it looks like.
Right, could be. But yeah, whether Howdy is struggling or relishing is unclear. Marin continues. He says, lead us not into temptation. And now we cut to Dimmy. And I like that, right? Like, lead us not into temptation. And we go right to Dimmy, right? Because that's like, it's like Dimmy, are you gonna stay? Are you gonna stay on the straight and narrow? Or are you gonna like be tempted to, fall into your old, way of thinking, your old doubts, right?
Your old bullshit.
Your old bullshit, Dimmy. No, we got him. Some of the listeners have said we have been a little bit hard on Dimmy, and I think we have. Yeah.
We love Dimmy.
We do. No, he is the main character. He is the one we identify with. So maybe actually that might be something, Keenan. Like we might be hard on him because he is supposed to be us.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why we're hard on Dimmy.
And it's a little bit of, okay, all right, bring Freud back in here. Let's go.
No, he does everything that I would do in this situation.
Absolutely everything that we would do.
Yeah,
right?
put the mother in the home because you don't want to admit that you picked the wrong career path, even though you're telling your boss you picked the wrong career path, but you don't want to admit that to your uncle, and send the mother away. Absolutely, that's exactly what I would do.
All of that stuff. Yeah,
all of it.
And I think that is the kind of juxtaposition between these two priests. Like I said earlier, like Marin is like Marin's attitude, Marin's demeanor, right? His mixture of strength and gentleness is like what I strive for. Like Marin is what I want to be. Karis is who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah. Marin is the hero and Karis is the protagonist, which are slightly different. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if Nixon actually said this, but in Oliver Stone's movie Nixon, he's constantly sort of like haunted by JFK and like how much people love JFK, right? So it's like about Nixon as he's he's about to get impeached, right? And he has during Watergate, and then he says to someone when they're looking at JFK's picture, is like America saw him and they saw who they want to be, and they see me and they see who they are. That's why they hate me. They hate me so much.
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, folks. I mean, yeah. So I think
we could sympathize with Nixon more than Demi? I guess that's part of our problem.
Yeah. I think that
poor
is
Nixon, poor Truey.
Oh.
But Demi.
Get it together, Demi. When are you gonna get a real job and stop trying to be an actor? I mean,
right. You're spending all your time with Father Dyer doing your podcast. I mean, no. And you're like, what, 30 now?
Yeah.
No,
your life is over.
Yeah, we're 40 in real life.
No. Wait. No. Demi is 40 in the movie.
Is he?
Yes. In the book, he definitely is.
He's 40,
right? Yes, he is. He is in his 40s because that's what Chris looks at him and is like, oh, what is it like dark chipped in his 40s, something like a boxer, right?
In real life, he would be 32. 1973 minus 1930, 34. Yes.
Well, great. You had to ruin that for me.
Oh, that's math for you, baby.
Yeah. This is new math. Yeah. But yeah, okay. Back to something less terrifying. This shot of Reagan/Howdy, right, with the eyes rolled up to the whites, right?
Yeah, with those white contact lenses again.
Yeah. Which apparently Linda Blair said, of all of the various contact lenses she had to wear, those were the most comfortable.
Oh, really? The white ones. Oh, that's interesting.
Compared to the other ones, which which
have all the
demony
shapes.
ones.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so from here we cut to Demi, and even though it looks like his expression hasn't changed, it feels different here. I can't explain it. His eyes flick to Reagan when Marin says the word temptation, and I almost want to read that as him resisting the temptation to doubt. Mm-hmm. He sees Reagan and he sort of wakes up and he realizes that he is the other exorcist, and he says, "But deliver us from the evil one." And again, at evil one, he looks back up at Reagan, and listen to how he says that line, folks. There is conviction behind those words. Whatever he believes right now, in this moment, he has put that aside and he has joined Marin. He is fighting this fight.
Yeah, I like that. So you're saying he's been watching The Exorcist, right? Mm-hmm. He's like tracking him and seeing what he would do as the role model. And then he's like, wait, I'm the Exorcist.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Right. And for as much as we were, joking about like giving Demi a hard time, like my heart leapt up. I was like, yes, he's doing it now. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And he's not, with conviction. He is doing he's putting his heart into it. Like the way he says those lines, it's very, it's commanding.
Right.
Yeah. So we cut again. We are back on the other side of the bed, opposite Marin, with Reagan between us. Marin is praying. He's saying, "Save me, O God, by thy name, by thy might, defend my cause. Proud men have risen up against me." Here, he raises his eyes from the page and he looks at Reagan/Howdy, right? And he says, "And men of violence seek my life. But God is my helper, and the Lord sustains my life." So we got more moans from Howdy, as if each word is hitting him like a blow, which again, leads me to wonder, is that what's happening? What is actually going on in that body right now, right? At the words, "God is my helper," Howdy's voice splits into what sounds like two separate voices harmonizing in pain. Marin does not stop. He does not slow. He says, "In every need he has delivered me." And that is when he looks back down again, right? So he has been looking straight at Howdy until just then, and he looks back down at the book, and he says, "Glory be to the Father, to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit." And now we cut, and Demi offers up the response without any hesitation. He says, "As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen." And there's not even a pause between the end of the prayer and amen, which, for people who pray, that is something that we sometimes do, as if amen is part of the last word without a pause. And in my experience, that has either meant that I was rushed and I wasn't really into it, or I was so into it that it just kind of flowed through me. And I think that is what is happening with Demi here right now. In this moment, he is fully on board. Marin is the surgeon, and he is handing him the instruments, the scalpel, the forceps, the needle, right? In this moment, they are a machine, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking about the idea of getting into a flow state, they often call it now. Of just whatever task you're doing. I guess athletes experience that a lot, but even people who work in assembly line or people who data entry, right? I guess that's where I feel the flow state the most, is when I'm updating spreadsheets, right? Yeah, but just like, okay, it's happening and everything feels right, and you're not making any typos in your spreadsheet. Every step in your run is happening exactly as it should, and you are just input output. Yeah, you're just a machine.
Yeah. It is like the performing of a song or a dance. It's like everything is falling into place. Everything has a rhythm, right? There's like, you kind of disappear. It's like you're another instrument, you're another voice, you're another piece of the rhythm, and you're not like, Dimmy's not like, thinking anything. He's not having his own thoughts right now. He's just in it, right?
Yeah, I think
or if he is, we don't see it.
Right. We talked about Elizabeth Gilbert's TED Talk, which I think is so beautiful. She's the writer of Eat, Pray, Love. We were talking about that in terms of the genius and how she likes to think about it in the old days where you were not a genius, you had a genius, and it was your job just to sit down and write. She's a novelist, right? And then it's not your job to worry about whether it's good enough, right? The genius is supposed to come over and take care of that for you.
Right.
Yeah, but the earlier part of that talk is about something like flow state. I don't think she uses that term, but she was talking about the divine when someone is creating something beautiful. And she would say that in the south of Spain, when you had somebody who was Muslim whirlers and dancers, and people would recognize when they got into that state, and they would say Allah, 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 as they recognize the God in their emotions. And then in Spain, once it gets translated into Spanish, it becomes Olé, which becomes what they say. So Olé, what a wonderful bullfighter move, or what a wonderful turn on the tango, right? That's Allah in you.
That's where that comes from. Wow.
According to her, I didn't double check her.
Okay.
Isn't that great? Yeah, just seeing the divine, like that is it. You see it, you feel it. That is the finger of God.
Right. You could say that they are being possessed by the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Awesome. Oh man. Oh, that is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we cut back to over Marin's shoulder, looking at Howdy as Marin says, "Save your servant." And off screen, we hear Karis immediately reply, says, "Who places her trust in thee, my God." And in another time, in another place, part of me would like speak up at this. I'd be like, wait a minute. Reagan, didn't get a say in this. Like, why are we speaking on her behalf, right? Mom's an atheist, and we don't know what Reagan is. So how can we say that, right? Who places her trust in you? But here, it doesn't bother me. It's actually very touching. And I think it's because, she can't speak. Howdy's not letting her speak. She can't even ask for help in a normal way. So they are pleading for her. They are pleading on her behalf.
The part that bumps me is not the, she places your trust in thee, because I guess I understand that they're working as her proxy. But the save your servant part, I have the exact same bump you're talking about. And so I was trying to look this up. I'm like, save your servant. How is she God's servant? And I know it's totally like the lady I was talking about when I would manage the guest service desk at Target, who like refused to, I would say thank you at the end of the return. Like, but they didn't do anything for us. We did something for them. We gave them money. I was like, just say it. Just say it. What are you talking about? Like, why are you getting semantics? But for some reason, save your servant was really getting into me. And then I was trying to Google around and was like, what does that mean biblically? Is that a phrase like to be God's servant or to be your servant? And I couldn't find that. So I'm still having trouble reconciling with that part of it. Like, in what way is Reagan's God's servant?
I wonder if it's just kind of like, an all-encompassing, like human beings are
God's servants.
Or children maybe. Like,
I get that part of it. Yeah. Children, but to serve God. I know I'm thinking about this all wrong.
No. I mean, no. These are the questions that people outside of the faith have, and like even people in the faith, like when they're younger, they're like, hey, wait a minute, like trespassing actually means a very specific thing. Like why are we worried about people coming onto our lawn?
Because we've come onto their lawn. Is that what we're saying?
I didn't walk on anybody's lawn. I don't know what. Yeah. But no, like I wonder if it is just like a is that the word, semantics thing?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if it is like, what it could be? It could be, it evolved from children to servants as like, I don't know, the church got more of a hold on the original texts,
right?
Or I mean, it could be just like, it's like a 1,000+ years old cultural thing that we just don't have an analog to, that you would consider yourself God's servant rather than his child. I don't know. Yeah. And it just kind of like, it pops up here in this little line.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder about that. 'Cause if I was the demon, I would raise these semantic questions.
Or you would start like just
like,
right
wait,
in the middle.
What do you mean, save your servant?
It's just the eyes are rolling up, and it's and then servant, and then it's like actually, and she gets up on her elbow. She's like, I don't know if that's like you don't know. It's like her mom's an atheist. I don't know what she thinks.
Right. Or in the Greek to Latin translation in 1837, this changed, and it wasn't really servant.
Like, actually, yeah. So a more literal translation might be like, child. Or,
yeah, ward or
yeah. Anyway, just keep doing what you're doing. Okay. Sorry, I broke the rhythm. I'll shut up now.
Do you want me to lead you back into that? Hold on.
But we can go back further. I was like, stick your cock up her ass.
No, that's too far. Let's just do this.
All right. Just trying to, whatever works for you. Yeah. I was a member of the Groundlings briefly. They taught me always, yes and right.
Right, exactly.
Acknowledge the other person's, gift and
Right.
Yeah. So
try not to drop any eggs here.
Yeah. They wouldn't let me into level 3.
Oh boy! Oh, we're gonna get into this on the show now.
No, I never did the Groundlings.
That's what everybody who says who takes Groundling classes. They're like,
oh really?
Yeah, they wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't let me into level 3. And then at UCB where I took classes, they progress everybody. Then that's the complaint. They're like, oh, right. I deserve to be on level 4, obviously, but they just let anybody into. Like, what's that person doing? They're like, well, there's two versions of this that we can get into.
Yeah,
right.
You can a peek into the seamy underbelly of improv comedy, folks.
Because they'll let you take
and the warring factions.
Yeah, they'll let you try again and take level 2 at the Groundlings again, I believe, to try to get to 3, but it costs money.
Yeah. Give me a location and make it a bedroom.
Now I need an occupation, and it should be a cocksucker.
Professional. Yeah. Okay, but so back to this movie. Yeah, Servant. I wonder if our listeners might have something to say about that.
Right.
Our listeners who are a little bit more familiar with the language of the Bible than we are. Okay, but we're back at the foot of the bed with Demi, and he has said, "Who places her trust in thee, my God." And I want everyone to listen to Demi's voice. Everyone, and watch his face at that final word, God. And tell me if I am imagining things. There is a tiny exhalation, and Demi's whole frame shakes a little bit. And to me, it feels like something has just fallen into place for him, right? He says, "Who places her trust in thee, my God." How many times in his life has he said the word God, and it felt like just any other word? And now he says it as part of this prayer, as part of this exorcism to help this little girl, and his body reacts. Something has stirred, something has awakened after years of troubled sleep. Hope has come back to Chris, and now it is once again in Damien. And the last line of this minute, we are holding on Demi as his eyes look to Marin, who says, "Be unto her, O Lord, a fortified tower," calling to mind again the dual elements of strength and protection that Marin and now Damien represent. They are tall, they are our heroes, and they are not going to leave until the job is done. We'll have to rejoin them next week, but for now, that is all of my notes. Keenan, is there anything else?
Nope, I think we got it.
Folks, this has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I've been Lester Ryan Clark, and you can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Keenan Diaz. You can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd at Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, we got our listener group, Compelling Conversations. Go check that out and request to join, and we'll let you in here with us. Thank you so much to everyone who has shared the show by word of mouth or on social media, and a big thank you to everyone who has given us a 5-star ratings on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. We really appreciate that. It's going to help our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. Okay, Keenan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time, the power of Lucille Laverne compels you. It's a little bit like the Emperor too.
I'm sure he might be doing the hag. Yeah. That might be exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. Right. my little green friend.
Everybody in the world saw Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that was Ian McDiarmid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if we like asked him, we was like, hey, hey, Ian McDiarmid, like the hag from Snow White.
It's like, where? Oh God.
Oh, she just gets everybody. God.
Just everywhere.
Listeners, write in. Tell us if you are not scared by the hag from Snow White. I want to know about that.
I don't. Like, they're lying.
Yeah. She either terrifies you or you're a liar.